And we're
live.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the GAFE Admins Podcast, a podcast by and for GAFE Admins. My name is Lance Lennon. I am the Technology Director for the Eagle Grove Community School District.
I'm Mitch Dowhauer, Technology Director for Spencer Community School District in Iowa.
I'm Carl Hare. I'm the Technology Director for Ames Community School District in Ames, Iowa, and go Team Mystic.
Phil Trimble, IT Director for Pocahontas Community School District in Pocahontas, Iowa.
Excellent. We're going to keep you in the... Oh, sorry, Chad.
I am Chad. Thanks a lot. No, you can skip me. It's fine. I'm Chad Ferks, Director of Innovation and Technology at Spirit Lake Community School District.
We're going to keep our guest under wraps for a little bit here. So we had some questions in the Q&A beforehand, people wondering when we start. The start time on the podcast, I think, said 6:30. We actually do some pre-show stuff, do a little prep work, and then go live at 7, so here we are at 7 o'clock. And there's something out there we want to start out talking about tonight. We don't know if you've heard about this. It's kind of new. It's maybe not in your area yet, but it's Pokemon Go. Any of you guys heard about that yet?
I think we all just sit here on our phones and play it.
We could do that. We could just sit and play and do tutorials. That's what my kids watch on YouTube all the time, is how to play video games.
I'm going to throw some incense out and just hunt Pokemon while we talk. Is that all right with you guys?
Hey, maybe I can benefit from that.
Ooh.
I think it's too far away.
I bet you could.
Maybe.
So Pokemon Go, in case you are completely unaware of what this is, it's the latest app, iOS and Android, and it's kind of the VR version of the old Pokemon cards. You find Pokemon and go to Pokestops and Pokegyms. You actually walk around, and so far we've had, someone walk off a cliff in California,
a couple of car accidents.
A couple of car accidents.
My wife hitting me a lot when we drive.
You cannot, I found out today, if you are traveling over 25 miles an hour, it assumes you are in the car and will not give you miles to hatch your eggs.
I think that it's even less than that, actually, because I tested it. I drove really slow and I didn't get any mileage. It knows. Do not play Pokemon and drive. But part of the reason we do want to talk about Pokemon is more than just because it's a game that everybody's playing, and I don't mind it. I think it's a great thing. I've had spend time with my daughter. One of my daughters going out, actually getting off on my butt, being outside, moving. But one of the things you can do is you can authenticate to the game with your Google profile. In the original version of it, if you got it right away, it did what? Anyone?
It granted complete access to your entire Google account because they used an old, outdated OAuth that I actually didn't think you could still use.
So I think in an attempt to get the game out sooner, they used the OAuth. It did give access to your entire account. If you went into your account, looked at the settings, you could see that basically, Pokemon Go had access to everything you wanted, which I personally didn't think they would ever use for nefarious reasons, because a company that size and a game that big, it would just be completely detrimental to them. But if there ever was a security hack on their stuff, that's when you'd get in trouble. So what was really kind of cool about it was, in the end, it ended up being a better game because they changed it. You download the latest version of it. You don't need to give it complete authentication to all your stuff, and you got a better game and a more secure game out of it. How many of you guys are playing Pokemon Go? We know that some people already showed it, like Carl.
Yeah.
Anybody not on Team Blue? All Team Blue.
That was pretty quiet.
Very quiet. What's your highest Pokemon?
I got a 578 Pidgeot.
Started out at what?
639.
Ooh.
639?
Yeah, Aerodactyl.
You can take that guy to the gym.
Yeah, you do. I got to ride down bicycle, but I haven't played today. I've been busy at a job.
Stupid work.
Who's getting in the way?
There are no Pokestops in my office, or Pokemon either. It makes me kind of...
There's actually a Pokegym at the Sammy Star right outside my office.
I have a Pokestop right across the street from my office.
Sometimes it'll let me go to the Pokegym from my desk.
You can see
You can check using his Go Gadget arms to reach the pokey stuff.
Depends on, because inside, obviously, it depends on where the GPS actually puts me.
Yeah. No, I've got a gym about half a block away and a Pokestop 2 blocks up, but I can't get anything from my house. Matter of fact, I can't even get a GPS signal. No, my highest is a, I can't remember what it is because I had these silly names don't stick in my head. But I've only 198 is my highest CP on anything, so I'm not real.
Noob.
Yep.
Noob.
Super noob.
I've been playing as long as you guys. I'm just not playing all the time.
Effort, man. You got to put in the effort.
Maggie got a Pikachu.
That's nice.
Very nice.
Did she use the beginning of the game hack?
No. We were down at our local library, and she goes, Dad, we got to go up here. And I'm like, why? And she goes, Pikachu! And sure enough, there he was. And I threw my ball, and he got in the ball, and then my phone froze. And she said it took like 4 balls to get him. But she stuck to it, and there were about 20 people all around us. Ooh, Pikachu, Pikachu!
It's all about getting your balls in the circle.
Correct. You got to let the circle to get little.
Small.
Do you want the circle to be smaller?
Yes.
The smaller the hole, the better chance of catching it.
Stop. No, don't.
You gotta give it a good flick.
Your balls have to go in the holes.
Have you got the Super Balls yet?
No.
They're blue.
Yeah.
Super Balls. Yeah.
So why are we talking?
So we just went down to no viewers.
Why are we talking about Pokemon Go tonight, Mr. Lennon?
Because, like I said, it ends up being it's a very good segue into what we'd like to talk about tonight for tips and tricks and stuff, and that is security measures. And when we talk about GAFE accounts and stuff that people have, is they assume that everybody in the world is going to just be really good with the information they give them, and we really kind of got to look at our users and explain to them that we really ought to look at our security. So we have some security tips. Number one thing I always talk about whenever I talk about GAFE administration to anybody is 2-step authentication. In terms of more than just them needing to guess your password, even if you think you have a really great password, is 2-step authentication. For those of you that were at ISTE, if you went into the Google presentation room, they were handing out security packets, and inside that security packet you got a encoded USB cable, but then you also got a YubiKey. And a YubiKey is one of my favorite things for 2-step authentication because you physically have to have something that you plug into the computer and touch as your second one. So I've got that set up for me. Chad, what are you using?
All right. So my tip of the month is a couple new things in the GAFE admin console. There's an additional. I'm going to try to share my screen here. Just one sec. This is going to go. The first thing is, if you have 2-step verification, there's several methods. You can have it text your phone a code, or just out recently is the ability to have just a pop-up on your phone so you don't have to type in the code. I'm going to attempt to show that if this will work. Let me...
Big if.
Big if. Live tech demo. We all know how those go. So, hang tight. There's me. All right. And if you'll notice, can you all see my screen now and my mouse? If you notice these 3 dots, I used LastPass. I'm not currently signed into it, but normally LastPass would have populated my password because all my passwords are stored in LastPass for almost every single account I have, and I don't even know those passwords because I let LastPass generate them. Well, that's the most secure because it's robustly secure. You just need to remember the one to LastPass, and there are recovery methods if you happen to. Extension.
I think forget your password.
There's methods you can get it back. You can get back into LastPass through phone and all that stuff, just like normal. But then every password for every other account is a randomly generated string of characters that I don't even look at. There's another little padlock with a circle arrow around it that generates a password when you come to a new prompt or a changed password prompt, and I just let LastPass generate them. They're like 128 characters long and blah blah blah. Usually, random characters. This one is not because it's in my domain, and I'm hoping it might not work because I'm already signed in. Oh, see, now it's saying unlock your So this is the new thing. I'm going to try to switch back my camera and show you what that looks like. If I can get back to the Hangout. Just so stop screen. Sorry. I can't find the button. Now my camera's back. Now on my phone, can you see that?
Kind of.
Trying to sign in from another computer, and then I can click yes or no. I click yes, and it should bounce me in.
And voila.
And voila, in I go. So, and then I want to show you the additional column. So that was one part of my what's new, and if this ever loads, doing a Hangout and trying to use the internet at my house is not always pleasant. But as this is trying to load, if it ever does, there's also the addition of a two-step verification status on your user's screen in the admin panel. You hit the three dots and you choose columns, and that is now a choice there. Two-step verification enrollment status, and it'll list what the status of all your users is for two-step verification. So as we go into this year, I know some people have already enforced two-step verification. I have not. So going into this year, we're going to start. And it's almost there. There it is. On the right-hand side, you can see two-step verification enrollment, and none of my guys are enrolled, as you can see, because we're going to start doing that this year. So
No, we can't see. We're still just seeing your face.
Oh, did I forget to share the screen back?
I thought
Sorry, I clicked it.
optional for your staff, or do you require that?
I'm going to leave it optional for the first part and eventually enforce it. So as you can see, sorry, on the right-hand side, there's a new column that I picked from going here and select columns, and two-step verification enrollment is there. You tick the box, and then you get a new column that shows their enrollment status. So very handy, quick look to see who's enrolled with two-step verification as you start rolling that out to your users.
Very nice. And now you can sort by two-step. Is that correct? Since it's one of the columns?
Yeah. Yep.
Very nice. Excellent. Thanks for the hint. Anybody else got any hints on security stuff?
I would say I got my GAM one, but I was going to wait to be last.
Oh, I see.
And actually, Mitch, why don't you give us a quick one? I'm going to have to hop out. Lance, can you re-invite me, please?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
Bye,
come
Carl.
All right, so my tip this month is about something that just came out yesterday, actually. Google, for quite a while, over a year, maybe even a year and a half or more, has had an admin app for both iOS and Android. It's been a little annoying because only super admins could take advantage of this app to do things like, you can reset passwords and change usernames, just small little tasks in Google Apps on that app. The cool thing is, and I was just talking at ISTE with some folks, some old customers of mine from my Amplified IT days, about how frustrating it was at these large districts to have all these delegated admins and they couldn't take advantage of this app. They had to sign in and go through the entire process just to go in and do something super easy. Even as simple as a teacher with delegated access to reset a kid's password would have to go on the computer. Whereas if they had access to this simple app, they could pull it up on their tablet or they could pull it up on their phone and do that password reset. Well, as of yesterday, Google just announced in a blog post that app on Android only, so iOS folks, you're out, sorry, get an Android phone. No, I'm sure that it'll come to iOS eventually too, but as of yesterday, they have revamped that app to allow delegated admins to use it. So I'll show my screen here.
Don't forget to click the button like I did.
Learn from your mistakes.
Let's see, hang on. There we go. All right. So if you go to the Google Play Store, just search for the Google Admin app. So just type in Google Admin, search for it. Here it is. They did note in the blog post yesterday that this could take 1 to 3 days to roll out. The app on the Play Store, the date on it is as of yesterday, so that app is updated. So if you have it installed on your phones already, be checking for that update to roll out in the Play Store. Once that's updated, your delegated admins can now access that and utilize their whatever permissions or rights that you've given them in the admin console in that app. So that's super awesome news to the large districts that are taking advantage of the delegated access in the admin console.
Excellent.
So, simple tip, but super awesome.
No, that's a great tip. We do have one question up here from Adam Smith. Did ask, what are recommendations for students in two-step verification? For me personally, I don't do two-step for my kids because a couple of things. One, our students aren't supposed to have their cellular devices out during the school day, and it's kind of a pain. And if they say, "Oh, I got to use it for this," I know they can remember their computer for 30 days or 90 days, but it's one of those things where we kind of don't do it for our students, but recommend it for our teachers. I'm also one of the things that's nice about that for us is we are still a mostly walled garden for our students with email, and so that's one other layer that not having two-step I don't worry as much about. What about you guys?
For two-step, we have
Two-step and students.
Okay, so for students, we have it enabled. We haven't really talked to the kids about it too much or sent anything out to them. The opportunity is there. I know that some schools don't like the two-step for students because it makes it difficult for them to log in as the student, which is what some people do to check on kids. But there are other tools that you can use that you can get into their accounts and stuff. So I don't think we're ever going to enforce it for students. I'm really going strongly at enforcing it for administrators in the fall, though.
I'm of Carl's opinion. I'm going to turn it on for high school students, but not enforce it. I'm going to turn it on starting in the fall after some PD for staff, and then begin enforcing that for the building admins and the superintendent's office people first, and then that'll probably bump down to the teachers. I'm just really getting tired of credentials being God, I can't even think of the word. Gotten.
Fished.
Compromised. There you go. Or just because users are being silly and responding to emails and entering usernames and passwords in text boxes and clicking submit. I'm just getting really tired of people doing that and hoping that this will help save them from themselves a little bit.
All right. Okay. What about you, Phil?
Oh, where'd Phil go?
He might be there, he might not. I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Phil's wandering his house again.
Phil, are you
He's looking for better Wi-Fi.
Dude.
All right, so while we're waiting for Phil, do you want me to hop back in and do my GAM tip now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so as is protocol now, we can call it a habit for the GAFE Admin Podcast at bit.ly/GAM tips. Capital G, capital A, capital M, capital T. You will see all of the GAM tips that we talk about on the show, including ones that you may have missed. So one of the big questions that, and I don't know what you guys talked about in the few seconds I was out, but one of the things with tech folks is they immediately think, oh man, how do I keep my kids from doing it? And originally I think it was a security thing. So how do we revoke OAuth tokens using GAM? So there's actually, you can find by just doing a GAM user and then putting in the username and then choose show tokens, you can see a list of all the OAuth tokens and what they do and have access to that your user signed up for. So I actually did this, this search, and this credentials were used for Pokemon Go. and you can see the client ID and then the scopes. So this is actually a post-updated Pokemon Go. Right now, it finds out its information about me on my Google Plus page and my email address. That's it. That's all it has right now, and there's nothing else special about it. So if you wanted to revoke this token from all of your users, the client ID is the same for any application. What I don't know is if the client ID is the same across the board. I think it is, but I would do this search quick in your domain to find out for sure. But it's just a simple one. You could say GAM all users delete token with this client ID. You can also do based on OU or groups if you'd like to as well. So you can hop into your users' accounts, hop into GAM, and see what they've given access to, which is something that's really nice to keep track of security, because there are lots of apps out there that your users are using their credentials for because it's easy. I mean, we're like, oh, heck yeah, I'm going to log into my Google credentials, click, go, without even really thinking about what you're giving them access to. So you can go through and run that. Now, the thing is once you revoke that OAuth token, that's a one-off. They can go in the next day and reauthorize and do your thing. So if you were adamant about continually keeping your users from using their school credentials to play Pokemon Go, you would need to cron that script. Either put it as a bash and then cron it, or use your PowerShell Voodoo on the Windows side and run this on a time basis. Now, that's a way to do it for free. If you have a tool like CloudLock, you can use CloudLock to do something very similar, and it'll automatically just keep looking. But CloudLock is not a free tool, whereas GAM is, and it's a pretty simple script. So that's how you revoke OAuth tokens using GAM. And if you want to be a hater and not let your users play Pokemon Go with your school credentials, that's how you remove the OAuth token for Pokemon Go specifically.
Haters gotta hate. Oh.
I heard there's a song about that.
I've heard rumor. So, talking about GAM is actually a great segue to take us into our guest for tonight. So, Derek Berry, some of you may remember if you've been following the podcast since its inception, is we did a giveaway in one of the early episodes of a Chromebook. Derek was the winner of said Chromebook, and as part of the prize, he had to come on the show. No. So we ran into Derek at ISTE and started talking to him, and it was nice to meet a lot of the GAFE admins face-to-face down there. And Derek actually started talking to us about something that it's one of those geek-out moments where all of a sudden Mitch, Chad, Carl, and I were kind of like, that's amazing. This would be like the coolest thing. Carl and Chad had the opportunity at that point in time to go run off and play with it. But Derek himself is from Kershaw County School District, and that's down in North Carolina. South Carolina. I meant north of the southern part of South Carolina, and he's from South Carolina. He is their Google Apps Administrator, Technology Curriculum Innovator. He's a Google Certified Trainer, Google Certified Administrator, all kinds of other things in there that he has. But his whole life has basically been all about information technology. What's really kind of cool is he started out as a geographic information specialist and a computer science teacher. So without further ado, we'd like to introduce Derek here, and welcome to the show.
Woo!
Hey, Derek.
Thank you so much. This is amazing.
We are very happy. Now, Derek is actually giving up family time right now. He is at the beach with his family. He's in his Jeep. I don't know if they're on the beach right now or not, but he's hanging out with us. Derek, so what was this wonderful thing that you showed us that just literally, I think, knocked our socks off?
Okay, so I guess I got to start my story with we started Google Apps, and in the world do I provision all of this stuff? And about a year and a half ago, I started hearing about this thing from Google called App Engine. And what in the world is App Engine? And then I was thinking, well, GAM is a Python program. Why can't we run GAM on App Engine, and then I wouldn't have to build a server? So that was kind of my question I've been asking, on the GAM forums for a while. Is does anybody have a way to run this on App Engine? And I never got nary a response at all. Then I discovered the Google Cloud. So GCP is where it is, and this is actually the new developers console. So if you've ever set up GAM, you've actually been there before, because you have to get the service account user, and you have to download their client ID and the little old JSON thing. You've been there before, but I never realized the really power that it had in it. So for me, whenever I discovered that there is a cloud console built into the regular Google Apps platform, you have a box, basically a virtual Linux box on every user account. So do you mind if I share my screen and I can show you what this looks like?
Absolutely.
Yeah, please.
So quiet. All right, so internal display share. All right, so let's move over to the cloud console. So can y'all see that okay?
Yep.
Okay, so any console, you have to start a project. So make sure you have a project going on, and I've got different projects here. Underneath the 3 hot dogs, that's what I call them, you have one called the computer. And so this is basically a place where you can have VM instances in the cloud for that particular project. And now you do have to have billing set up. So if you want to look at billing and those kind of things, you do have to set that part up. It does cost a little bit, but this I found was way cheaper than setting up a Linux box altogether. So you say I have my little Ezra account right here. I've set up a VM, and you could SSH right into it. And setting that up was about 4 clicks. And then I have an SSH right into my little Linux box here that I can run GAMP from the cloud. So basically this is provisioned on the data center with Google, and you can have multiple instances of this. I probably should have had this all booted up. So here's my little Linux instance. It's all provisioned on Google. So from here you set up you do all your Linux magic, hit GAM, and then you have Linux running GAM on Google's cloud platform. And of course, you can cron job and bash it, to your heart's content. So it's a really awesome tool that now I'm running this from my Chromebook. So any kind of command I need to do on the run, I just pull this SSH console up and knock it out. So there it is.
That when you started talking about that, Derek, that was probably one of the coolest things I had seen, because I know we're as a group really looking for a way to continually decrease the footprint of our data centers or the devices we carry. I want to carry a Chromebook. I have a Chromebook on my desk, or Chromeboks on my desk, and I want to carry a Chromebook.
Carl, careful.
On my desk. And I want to be able to. I wanted to be able to use just that, and GAM was kind of my last holdout.
That's a big desk.
We're going to get that explicit rating back yet, aren't we?
It's always Carl. You would think it's Chad, and it's not. It's Carl.
I should put the halo on there.
Talking about his big desk.
So the thing is that as soon as you showed us this, Chad and I actually did an offsite up in Boulder. So we grabbed an Asus Flip and worked on getting this set up and going.
I'm going to share my screen, Carl, and show what I figured out. So what we figured out on the bus.
Yeah, exactly. So you actually have access to those Linux servers in the cloud, which is awesome. And that tip you gave us really sent us rolling. So that was really cool. So I appreciate that. And that's the great thing about the GAFE community is that most of the people I ever meet, we're always willing to share stuff, right?
Right.
So Derek, you run your GAM on an actual cloud-hosted instance of Linux. There's also what's called the Google Cloud Console, which is this little button right here. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah. So on the bus, on the way to Spark Fun, and on the way back, I finalized a lot of the step-by-step. With Carl sitting next to me, we figured out that we could run GAM in this Google Cloud Console. Now, there's a couple things that might not be as secure as running it as in an instance because you have to put your OAuth credentials in this guy, but I think it's okay because it's stuck in your account. So as long as you don't get compromised, you should be fine. So you simply click this button right here, and it launches a shell. You don't have to set up a virtual machine or anything. You simply log into the Google Cloud Platform, go to one of your projects, click this little button right here, and it launches this shell inside of the browser. You can bounce it out into a new window. I'm just going to leave it here for now. But we figured out how to install GAM into this Google Cloud Console, and I can, here, I'll just, Carl was talking about that tip earlier. You can then run GAM right from there, having never set up a Linux instance or have to pay for anything because this piece is free. So you don't have to pay for a VM at all on Google's cloud platform. So we figured this out, and Carl's working on going through my very hastily written in a bus instructions step by step, and we will post those once they're a little more legible for everyone to use. Where are we going to post that, Carl?
I will post it, and then we'll send it out via the Twitters. So if you don't follow us, GAFE Admin on our GAFE Admin Twitter account, this is your reason to follow us.
GAFE Admins right there. It's the @GAFE Admins, and instead of an I, it's a 1. So @GAFE Admins, plural. And that's on the Twitters. We'll put it there. We'll also put it in the show notes. Well, they might not. We'll get them out to you. Just follow the Twitters.
So, Derek, on your setup, do you get storage as well? So you can reference and download CSVs and upload CSVs and things?
Yes. So the Cloud Console is because it's a really easy setup, and it's a persistent disk. You actually got 10 gigabytes of space on that Cloud Console. But the thing is that if you don't use it for 5 minutes, it actually deprovisions that VM and turns itself off. So you can't really use it for cron jobs, like if you want to have a continual setup of procedures going on. And so that's why I do the VM thing.
Yep, and that makes sense.
And
Yeah,
so
we were.
Sorry, go ahead, Derek.
Address some of the.
Yeah. So your space on the VM is really whatever you feel like paying for. So in my instance, I've got 2 VMs. I've got one Windows and one Linux box. It's right around $30 a month, just to have that in there. So whenever I look at like buying the server and hardware in comparison to just the hardware itself, I'm buying, tons of server racks just to make that happen. One of the things really cool about this too is that with your VM instance, you also have unlimited backups and what they call snapshots. So if you want to just kind of go off the farm and just test something out, make a snapshot of your server and then re-snap it up with another instance and just try something out. The other thing is you have unlimited computing capacity on GCP. So if you want to have 64 CPUs and maybe a terabyte of memory, Google lets you do that. And so I've tried it out. Make an instance and then just put it on a whole bunch of computing power, and then there you go. Just try it to see what you get. It flies. Then just deprovision it because you don't want to keep that on your. You don't want that to persist.
What? Hey, Derek, can you talk about what you might have used a machine with that much power for?
So I've done it with provisioning users, or doing like a specific. I guess probably the one coming up, what you got to do is reset all the kids' passwords. So when you're resetting hundreds of thousands of passwords, that's one command, but then you can just have a lot of computer power thrown at it. Here's what I found out though, is the GAM and the APIs will limit you, so make sure you kind of throttle the API usage down, because you don't want to blow out your API usage in one day. Google frowns upon that, but yeah, it'll still work.
They'll give you more APIs the next day.
Yeah,
it's just a 24-hour window.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a really, really awesome tool. I love GCP and learning about it, and it's been a big help to me. There's also more stuff if you're looking at just bulk storage. kind of the developer version of Google Drive is called Storage. You have a ton of storage built in there too, so don't worry about saving stuff. Google can save as much junk as you want, and a lot of people just don't know about those tools. So awesome.
Speaking of that, how did you hear about that, Derek? How did you first learn about it?
Well, I've been writing programs for a school district for about 5 years, and I've been wanting to go to Google I/O for forever. I've been trying for 5 years to get a ticket, and actually got a ticket to go this past year. It was ridiculous exciting. I learned more about code in those 3 days than I think I did in my entire college CS Fiesta in computer science. So it was really, really cool just to learn about that. If you want to know a lot of the minutia about GCP, there was a conference in April called GCP Next.
All right, it's a good point.
Oh, what was
a lot of those tools?
Okay, Derek, we lost
froze
you
at
for
GCP Next. You said there was a conference GCP Next, and then you froze on us.
Sorry. So there was a conference about April. Just do a quick YouTube search, Google Cloud Platform Next, and then they run through just about every tool you could think of that's in the cloud platform. And the VM stuff is probably the one we'd end up using the most for education. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I know for us at Spirit Lake, I've started transitioning our server infrastructure to Amazon's AWS. I realize this is the GAFE admins, but Amazon obviously offers a similar platform, and we're starting our transition to the cloud as well. I sort of did a cost comparison, and Amazon's offering some interesting educational pricing. And they also have a thing called workspaces that I'm going to explore. Does Google Cloud Platform have that? It's basically VDI in the cloud. You know, Derek? I don't know. I didn't see it.
I'm not sure. Like, are you talking about like sharing your project with other people?
No,
Is that...
virtual desktop.
Yeah. You could set that up by making your virtual machine, and then setting it up through Windows or whatever VI you would like to do in your, if that makes sense. I just found the GCP is already tied to my account, so I just ran with that.
Yeah, a little bit easier to just go that way. Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
So I just, like I said, when we ran into Derek, and it was just kind of, we started talking, like, it was great to meet people face to face, and then just find out what people are doing out there. That this was mind blowing. We've been talking about just having a regular GAFE admin on, not the Andrew Stillmans, not the Jay Atwoods, just people that do what we do from different locations, and it was such a perfect fit. It was like, this is a no-brainer. We've got to bring Derek on, and he gave up, like I said, gave up family time to do this.
Oh no, that's no problem. So, I will say one thing that I really, really like about this is, and especially learning through Google I/O, Google is really pushing this thing called Firebase lately. And if you've ever get a chance and you're really nerdy and like code, Firebase has been pretty awesome. For those people who like code, it's a real-time database. But it's like the intermediary between this Google Cloud Platform we're talking about now and Google Apps. It's where you can host your own websites for free. It has a real-time database for a web platform or Android or iOS apps. It's really, really neat stuff. But for education, this is one of those things that I think is a lot of people just don't know. We just need to be able to hack around and let people know that this, before you either use an AWS or even Azure, that you can host your stuff on the cloud instead of managing your own hardware. I just can't imagine like how just power bill savings alone you could do by just using the cloud instead of having to build your own server stuff. So I'm really, really excited about it.
Anytime I don't have to host a machine, that's one less machine in my data closet is a great thing for me.
One of the things that I was really interested in, Derek, is your perspective on I/O, coming from the EDU space. I always love going to a conference where I get to nerd out with people, so that's why I always like, oh, that'd be cool to go to. But so I'm curious your perspective on I/O from the EDU lens.
So I've been wanting to go to I/O for a long time, just as a developer and trying to write code and trying to hack my own way stuff. Like Andrew Stillman was kind of my inspiration to even like try to do this thing with EDU. And I got to meet him and talk to him for a little while, and that was really awesome at I/O. But one thing I definitely learned from the Google's end and their developer conference is it's commercially driven, and almost all of the developers that were there were looking for ways to make money on apps. So, and looking at EDU, how can we use education? How can we do this? And there's not a lot of, I guess, on that particular conference, a lot of looking at how to leverage a particular app in the EDU space, unless you talk to that one specific group, like the Jonathan Rochelle, who I got to meet. He's the guy who invented Google Sheets, and huge EDU advocate. He was even a classroom teacher. And Ope, the person in charge of Google Classroom, she was an amazing person to meet and super passionate. Think of like them as the intermediaries to say that there's an EDU world that we've got to teach, and we've got to make it accessible for kids and teachers. And they were kind of like those advocates. And that's really how I felt being there, is that I got to talk to the engineers who were in charge of amazing projects that I've even never heard of, and then say, well, what about this, or what about that? Perfect example, I talked to one of the project leads for YouTube, and I was like, dude, I would really like for us to somehow blacklist or whitelist a certain IP address so that advertisements don't come to our elementary kids. Some advertisements are fine, but some aren't. What if I could buy a school subscription of YouTube Red for my school? Like, is that even in the realm of possibility? And then we're talking to the project leads. They're like, oh, we haven't thought of that. And it's just cool feedback that you get to really get that face-to-face time and say, this is, from EDU's perspective, what we need. Which, by the way, in that example, I would love to be able to give EDU Red to our kids, because then they could download the videos that they needed to offline, plus there are no advertisements whatsoever. So that's one of those cool little things. I also learned that they are geeks just like the rest of them, and just and at Google I/O is their huge science fair to just geek out and then to show the world what they've been working on in the past year. It's really amazing experience. I know you get to watch a lot of the keynotes, but it's a different experience actually being there and then talking to the engineers who wrote this stuff. Just to see how they work to get progress happening and how they compete with each other to make thinking work. And then it was really awesome to kind of inject all these little ideas about EDU to the project engineers. So if you got feedback, give it to them. They love feedback, especially from EDU. We're the growing source for a lot of their revenue, and so they like us a lot.
Yeah. Got a question for you, Derek, here from Adam Smith. He said, you said Firebase is akin to Azure. He wanted to know if it's possible to migrate from Azure to Firebase.
Well, I would probably akin Azure more to Google Cloud Platform. Firebase is more of a platform for you to hold your code, that if you're writing an Android app or an iOS app or a web app, and then Firebase is like the database that holds all of that stuff together. It's kind of like an easier version of Google Cloud Platform. So I don't know if there's a migration tool between Azure and GCP, but I feel sure that if you talk to a GCP engineer, they would love to help you out. Yeah.
Is there pretty good support for GCP?
Yes. Anytime I've ever worked with them or emailed them, I'll get an immediate email back. We've even done live hangouts if I've had a particular issue. They're really awesome and responsive. So I gotta say, I do like the tech support with your Google admin on the Cloud Console, but the GCP is like way better. You don't have to go through team 1, team 2, and then an engineer. You just talk to one of the engineer advocates. So, yeah.
To speak back to your send feedback to Google, when I go out and do trainings, I always talk about that little button in the dashboard down in the right-hand corner, that send feedback button. Yeah. They're human beings that actually read that. They want to know how to make their tool better. And, I mean, yes. The EDU, there are times where we wag the dog. We like to think that we don't have a lot of pull, but you talk to some of those guys like Cyrus, and they're like, yeah, they want to know. They want to know how to make the tools better, and they'll listen. You just got to tell them.
Right. Yeah. We'll get back to you if you have unique experiences there. Also, feel free to hit them up on Twitter and Google Plus. Like if you can find the project leads, just search for them, and they will write you back. It's pretty cool, pretty awesome. They're actually real live people who want to help.
So I have more questions too, but I don't want to be hoarding all the time. So, you guys, anybody else got anything to ask?
No, I think you're doing a nice job. Keep going.
All right. So I know that a lot of the stuff that you probably saw at I/O was covered under NDA. But what was probably the coolest thing that you saw that you think will impact us in education that you can talk about?
Well, there was so much. All right, so I think probably the biggest thing to have the largest impact is how Android for Work is kind of merging with Google Apps for Education. One of the things that we all knew, like the Android Play for EDU. Yep. Play for EDU went away in March, and we're like, oh no! And then we finally had a foothold, and of course, anytime Google deletes something, it's usually because they're putting something else in. And so that was one of the really awesome things that I saw was the Google Android for Work is kind of taking that place inside the EDU realm. Basically, what they've decided, and this is from my understanding, that the Work Unlimited is basically just going to be rebranded as EDU. So anything that's under the Work Unlimited is the same stuff. It's just rebranded a little bit, plus add Classroom. And so that means that as EDU people, we get that same as a work paying account would. That was a huge thing. The Android for Work table that they had to have different booths set up and stuff. Android for Work table is really cool just to see how you can manage Android devices. And I had no idea, but there's a kiosk mode, just like there is on Chromebooks, a kiosk mode built into Android. And so you can lock down an Android device to a specific app, which I had no idea even existed, but now you can. And the plan is that would be introduced inside of the admin console. Just like we could administer Chromebooks, you're also administering Android. So that was really cool. I guess the second biggest thing is Android apps coming to Chromebooks. That's just like me. I thought it was going to happen, and then they had they slipped a little bit on the schedule, and then I was like, oh, okay, I've got to go to that session. Well, I showed up to that session an hour early, and the line was forever long, and couldn't get into it at all. I was like, no, somebody please tweet about it or share it in our little private. We had Google Spaces set up, and please share with. And so then we had to read from Engadget, what they were talking about live. Like, I'm like 3 feet away from the speaker and I can't hear, and so that was a little disheartening. But Android apps coming is a huge thing. I played with it on my Pixel. I just came to the Pixel a little bit ago, a couple of days ago, and it's really like what you think it is. It's the Play Store on a Chromebook. So I did get to learn because I asked 1,000 questions in. All right, how do we manage it from the admin console? And so that is coming. What I understand with this too is that just like you could blacklist, whitelist apps for Chromebooks, you would be able to do the same thing in the same format with Android apps on the Play Store. So, like a lot of in our district, I'll blacklist everything for students, and then I'll whitelist whatever the teachers say that they want whitelisted. And so, from my understanding, is it's supposed to be the same exact way for the Android apps. It's just added a longer list of apps, basically, to the Chrome store. So
now we just have to get hardware makers to get a front-facing camera on the convertibles. And then we'll be
exactly.
We talked to a bunch of ISTE.
Or have apps not require the front-facing camera.
Yeah, but actually for usability, you really need that front-facing camera, so you know exactly what you're taking a picture of or video. I'm thinking our little kids use EasyBlog to do artifacts of learning and things like that. They post to their EasyBlog for a sort of a digital portfolio, and without a front-facing camera on even a convertible, it's pretty pointless for what they use it for.
Right.
I'm really happy
at the N22, like something like the N22, or where the camera flips around. Make that work too.
Flip it around. Yep.
We were trying to get CTL to put the camera right above the keyboard.
Yeah. Why not?
So that when it flips around, you have a rear-facing camera.
And if you don't flip it around, it's a good way to look up your nose.
Yeah.
Something I always want is to look up people's noses.
One of the things that I'm a little nervous about is with Android apps coming to Chrome, and we all want it, like yesterday. But what you mentioned, Derek, is it's gonna have to have some management in the dashboard. So that means the dashboard is gonna have, I would say, probably a relatively significant overhaul relative to that area that we're all gonna have to learn really fast.
Well, I guess, Carl, as long as they keep it similar to the Chromebook apps,
right.
I don't know why they would make it completely different.
Well, right now, I think they said the issue right now is, in the admin console, if they left it the way it was, that the device would show up twice. It'd show up in Chrome management and it'd show up in Android. Right. That's causing some major confusion in the admin console on the program.
They need to squish them together like we've been saying forever. A device is a device, let us manage it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's easier said than done, Chad.
No!
No, it's simple. It's easy.
Oh, sorry.
Do it. Check. The one thing that I hope we get to retain that we had in the Play Store for Android previously is teachers' abilities to push. Nice Pepsi ad, Derek. I appreciate that. Was the ability for teachers to push out the apps, because that served two purposes. One, it put the teachers in control, and it was less work for me. So the teachers feel empowered, and I didn't have to do it. So really, it was a win-win-win.
Yeah, anytime you can,
delegate.
Delegate, that's the word, thank you.
Empower your end users.
That is a scary thought for some people, Carl.
I can tell you that sidebar, I guess, in that same realm, I've really loved the Google Cloud Print platform, because a teacher in our classroom, like we have a printer in every classroom, the printer can be shared by the teacher. And I know that's like an amazing tool that we've been able to do, so we don't have to manage all those printers. A teacher gets to manage them out. I would love to see that same implementation working for apps too. So,
well, we had it.
My bad. Yeah.
They were just teasing us. A bunch of teasers.
So I got to tell you, one other amazing thing that I saw at I/O, and I think it needs merit, is Project Tango. So this is if you haven't heard of Project Tango, it's an Android tablet that has 3 cameras on the back, and then it maps out 3D spaces. And the demos I got to play with are really awesome. It's kind of like augmented reality plus real dimensions in space. All in one little tablet you could buy. I really see, like, Pokemon Go is the perfect segue for Project Tango, because then you're taking a real-world space and putting it in a tablet and working with mapping. And Google tries to tout it by, like, hey, let's map a room for, like, EMT services or any kind of emergency stuff. Let's map the inside of a building. But I'm thinking for education, it's amazing for kids to map their own world, especially on a device that's now coming in a cell phone platform. Project Tango is a pretty cool thing. I think it's going to change the way we look at just AR and VR in general.
So, Derek, that's another hardware thing that I'd kind of like to see a change, even for just Google Cardboard and the Expeditions thing, is coming out with a device that isn't a full-blown phone, but has enough capability to make those things work without having the cell phone bits in it, and just having a Wi-Fi only device to cut the cost down, because we can't afford $600 phones just so people can use a $10 cardboard.
Exactly.
I realize that a lot of users have their own, and we're trying to get people to recycle them and all that business, but realistically, large scale, that's not scalable in my mind. They need to come out with some sort of device that is a
$50, $25 device that is used just for something like that.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And we talked to hardware people about that too.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many of them looked at us like we were speaking French. Like, why? What? You just need a phone? No, I don't need a phone. I need an iPod Touch.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
you
right.
go.
But not a $279 iPod Touch either.
That's right. I want like a $25 thing to put in my Oculus.
Chad's got all the toys.
So
Is that your
everybody
Oculus or is that your Nearpod?
That's Oculus.
That's his legit Oculus, not the
Samsung. That's
one.
Oculus Gear VR for my Note 5. But my
Yeah,
Note
but was
5
it-
is what, like a $700 retail device?
Right.
What is the Best Buy has the kit now? You can buy the Expeditions kit. They'll have all that, and that's what 30 different devices plus the tablet and the router, and it's only
$10,000.
$10,000.
$10,000. So we're gonna get a sponsor to sponsor a giveaway for a $10,000.
Wow.
And it's gonna be Best Buy sponsoring the GAFE admins.
Apparently, GAFE admins are selling their souls for that one.
They don't even need
Oh.
a sponsor. They're getting free exposure.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right.
To all of our current one viewers,
They need it from us.
Goodness.
we're gonna sell so many of those kits for them.
Nice. No,
Yeah, but it does come in a nice Pelican case though,
that's
with
true.
wheels.
And you can try to roll your own. Like Jenny Magera built her own, purchasing Nexus 5s off of secondary markets.
eBay?
She didn't go to eBay specifically, but if you have like a Nexus 5 or a relatively new unused Android phone, sell that sucker. It just went way up in value.
Yes. Jenny's also in Chicago, so there's all kinds of stuff. Fell off the truck. Don't worry, my brother Vinny, he can hook us up.
Oh goodness.
Got a whole truckload of these. Don't register them.
Yeah.
So.
I did have
But
that
we are actually
conversation
coming
with
up against our time frame here, so we're at 7:58. Derek, thank you very much for showing us the wonderful tool, for hanging out with us tonight, for giving up family time. It's really nice to see other GAFE admins that get as geeky as we do, and to talk to y'all. So
it's really an honor to hang out with you guys. So the honor is mine, the privilege is mine.
honor might be a big word. There.
Awesome. Good deal. Yeah, thanks, Derek. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Derek.
Thank you very much, Derek.
All right. So I guess that's it for tonight. We'll get this stuff up as soon as I can on the Podbean, the Google Play Store, and iTunes, and you can always catch us on YouTube. It'll be live here in a bit. We'll do some editing for the podcast, but remember, we will put out on the Twitters the steps to do the cloud computing, so you can run GAM off of a Chromebook. And that's one thing for me, is like, I talk about kids having Chromebooks in my district, is if I can do my stuff on a Chromebook too, it's one step closer to proving my teachers you can do your stuff on a Chromebook. And
Amen.
Amen. Amen, brother.
have a good night, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.
Cheers, everybody.
Letters.